Are you doing stocks or are you doing options?
I'm doing all options. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do optionable or stocks only. Because I have some students who don't like to trade options. That's why I was making sure I asked it. Of course, I'm going to do average volume over 500K, and let's just say price over $10.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've got that as a base, right? It's at 1750. Now I'll go to performance and I'll say month up, but I won't do week down because I know there's a breakout that's already underway.
Uh-huh.
So what I'll do is I'll go to performance and I'll sort it by who's the most up for the week. Because I want to see what are the leaders. So
I
if it like let's say if it Friday, because every now and then you'll have like that key week where there's like a shift, stocks are really starting to take off, and
yeah.
so I really want to see the stocks that are ripping because those will be, even though I may not be able to trade them right away, they're going to be somewhere down the road. They're going to retrace and be another opportunity to get in. So
Right.
anyway, I'll sort by weeks. I'm getting the most up for a week. Of course, BNR, we're probably not going to take that trade, but then I'll go to charts and I'll look and see MATV. I like Soundhound looks really good. We just need to see how clean that is with volume.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would do is pull that up. I think I've got that on my watch list. SOUN. Yep, right there. See, I've already marked it up.
Uh-huh.
And let's see, I already need to adjust my retrace zone. So now I'm really liking it's a couple like anywhere
Good.
in
Yeah.
this area would be a nice target for an entry. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll color that in purple, whatever color, say
Yeah.
it's set an alert and I'll move my alert. You see it was down here. Now I'm gonna move it. Now again, if you want to be more aggressive, if you really like the stock and the prospect, you might look at trading a reaction to the support zone.
Wow.
So you could, but it is a little more aggressive. You're saying, hey, I want to just catch it here because I really like what happened. The only
Yeah.
thing I don't like is it's ready. So what happened? Earnings came in, looks like a little bit higher loss than was expected. Revenue is higher. So I think this is part of that whole AI. You see, it's an AI. Again, I don't know the story of the stock, but if you think it's something that's going to really rip, and so what you could think of it this way in terms of risk management, you could say, you know what, I'm going to take a half a position here
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and then see what happens. Of course, ride it up if it keeps riding up, and then let's say if it drops down here, but then goes up, you can add to your position. But again, you want to see some kind of bullish confirmation, right? So again, just think of it in terms of risk. If it's a higher risk trade, cut your trade size in half. But that could be a strategy. Say, okay, I'm gonna set an alert right here. So if it taps that, I'm gonna get notified. So that's an example of a stock that's really leading the pack, right? Because one of the things I'm hearing is that in terms of the stock, the market leadership is getting narrower and narrower. Right now, it's primarily AI or chip stocks, right? Some of the other stuff is kind of, so if you look at the actions, let me go back, which things are turning around across the board. Now, it was kind of more mixed. Now things are all across the board. So let me look at the Meta. See, it broke out. It was kind of having a mark. Then but it's clearly breaking through. Let me look at what Tesla's still holding on pretty good. And you can see what I do. I'm going to talk about this during my webinar. I like to get a feel for what is the pattern story. You can see kind of where several times it came here, bounced off, right? So you want to kind of recognize those patterns because once I know that there's a kind of a predictable pattern, see, like after this launch, you could have picked it up the second time for this run here, right? Because you see it came up here, ripped up, came down. Boom. Actually, if you look in terms of times, this is the first time, right? This is the second time. That's the third time right here. You see that? Run, run. One thing I'm going to talk about during the is and you see I had this market auction theory which I really like about premium and discount.
That's
Clearly when a
good.
stock is when initially breaking out, I'm going to stay long, even though I know I'm getting up in the nosebleed, right? I'm going to play off demands if I'm day trading, right? But this is not for swings, but for day trading. And then once you get this first rejection out of the high, which is right here. Actually, there's two. There's one there. It's probably more significant is this one here. Okay, this is an area of resistance. So once that rejection happens, you can see it came all the way back down to this demand zone in the value area, right? Before it really reversed. So a lot of times that reverse, let me clean some of this up.
And you told me you like demand zones in the discount area.
That's right.
That
That's
combination
right.
is really good.
It would either you're going to bounce off the demand zone right here to 50% retrace, right? Or possibly in this case, it came all the way down to this zone here, right? And bounce. And you can see it did it twice, right? here, and then here. So, but understanding kind of those rhythms is something to me. I'm kind of exploring more about how to take advantage of those. Actually, I'm starting to move more to swings and not as much day trades. Because what I found is that it's harder to get and from our supply demand setup methodology because of gap ups or whatever. It's just harder to get a tradable setup on the daytime.
I've been seeing that you told me about, and I'm just double checking with you on this. You told me
Okay.
like you like to see like a big bar and you'll
Yep.
set a limit at the middle of the big bar and then try to get it back to the top of the big bar. Is
You talking
that
about
what you
these right
told me?
here?
Like when you have a
Uh,
really big bar, you'll kind of go to the middle, try to pick it up, and then ride it back to the top.
yes. Let me do this real quick. So let's say look at this situation, right?
Real big
From
bars
this
in the
setup,
yeah, right.
let's say your demand zone is sitting right here, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So there's two things you could have done here. You could have made an entry here, right? Because this is an actual demand zone tap. It came up, made a high, dropped below the 50% retrace, tapped demand, and then broke structure right here. You could have definitely taken that trade. I would use my stop at the base of this move here. I wouldn't go all the way down. Again, to me, with swings, I just don't like taking the bottom of the demand because the losses are so much bigger when you're doing swings. So I would use the base of that breakout candle. I would have gotten it in here. Now I would have targeted this area up here. So what I like to do is target the middle of resistance for my exit because of course in this case you see it never actually even got there. And the reason I've learned to not hold on to swings too long is because of theta decay and also compression of volatility, right? Because part of the price of your option is the implied volatility. I would have definitely gotten out right here because you see how the second half is weaker than the first. I would have gotten out right there. And you can see you would have really had to wait it out to potentially get up to here. That'd have been the C. Day one, day two, day three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's like almost 9 or 10 days. That's long.
That's one reason I've started trying to flip to selling a spread because then I've got the movement, the volatility goes out, I'm good there. The movement
Plus
is
theta
good for
decay.
me, and the theta K is good for me too. So
Yeah.
the only trick is that sometimes your reward is small and your risk is high. But I just watch it really carefully. If it starts going the wrong way at all, I just get out. I
Yeah.
don't let it come back on me, So
Well, you can see, I
yeah.
mean, this is what a trade should look like. You had like I'll take one bad day, particularly if it's moving, but after that bad day, it better resume or I'm out.
Go right
Uh,
on.
you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
you can see it just this is the same thing. Look how even though you had like a little bit of a pause here, it just steadily progressed. Whereas here, yeah, with this chop, I mean, we're fortunate that it did recover and go to the upside. But too many times I've seen when you start getting this, it just dropped.
I've seen you're kind of like if it's not progressing, I get out. And I've
Yeah,
been starting to get more aggressive on that too. If it's not progressing, I got to get out. Because it will
yeah.
turn around on you fast.
I'm exploring doing shorts. So let me show you on shop. So shop, this is again from doing some back testing. Like when I know I've reached a high and I see this negative down count and I see this rejection, I'll take a short. So you see I got it because there was this down candle and then there was a test of that resistance. And because I'm already up here at this premium area, I said there's a good chance that this thing's going to continue to the downside. Just like what was it, Microsoft? I think Microsoft. Let me look at this. Somebody that just kept dropping. I think it was Microsoft. I think Microsoft had the big, yeah. See how Microsoft had the big gap up, down, test, rejection. You could have ridden that down. I was looking for something similar with Shop. Again, same thing, had a big positive earnings, but notice it gapped up huge and then just sold off. Now, one of my rules for shorting on a run up, I never, even if I get this big move, I will not take a short. I want to see a test of it first. If I don't see the next day a clear test of that, I'm not trading it. That's why on this one, I kind of like the setup because it had this down move, it tested it and it held. But then today, as you can see, it had a pretty much positive first session in the second half looking good. So I just went ahead and got out because it should have kept dropping if it was right. Particularly the short. I don't screw around with shorts. I mean, I'll give longs a little more of a leash, but if it's not steadily dropping, I'm out of it.
Hard to make money off of unless you really hit it right.
Yeah,
Just because the stock market's always going up, up, up.
that's right. Any other questions? Good stuff.
So then after you've done the weekend, you got to Then you have a little, then you just kind of check your watch list each day and see if they're ready.
Exactly. So like
Okay.
I've been watching Amazon. See, Amazon is just not good enough for me yet. I mean, we did get this, you can see that kind of market it wants to run up. Yeah, I guess you could have taken it here. I did miss this run. You could have actually gotten in here on this breakout candle. Let's see how it's kind of stalling out. This is the day one, two, three. I would have probably still got down to this third or fourth day because if it's not progressing, that's not healthy. See, I had some others I was flagging. I mentioned this is the one I like again, AEHR. I think we're talking about that. I like how that one's setting up. I think is it IE? Nope, that one's. Let's see, this is another one showing some signs of a breakout. That's Citizens Financial. Not quite. I mean, I would like to definitely see it have a cleaner break above that consolidation area, but it's pretty solid. I think I would say the other negative is also, of course, above, depending on where you set. Of course, you see, I got the base of this move down here. You could make a case for moving that base up to here based on where this volume. This is one
Yeah.
I wish I'd gotten. Man, this thing really took off. BTU, it's a coking coal company, and you can see how this nice breakout. And this again would have been a more aggressive trade because it's above the 50% retrace, but I could definitely, and I thought about it, and I just didn't do it. I didn't pull the trigger on it. Now, I would have used the midpoint of this support as my stop. That could have been a nice 1.5. Didn't get in.
Well, sometimes they just go too quick,
They do.
They
And you
just
just have
blow
to,
by you.
you do. So yes, and so but that's what I've been, so I would say just keep it, keep that list on the right and just keep populating it. And I was really, of course, the other thing to do too is check the market, right? What's the market? Because you always want to think about as your stock as a fish and the Gulf Stream, right? So I want to know kind of because you can have the best stock in the world. If the market starts turning south, it doesn't matter. So like SPY, QQQ, and it's looking like that's all. I mean, in fact, we're having a strong close today after that CPI report. That to me is more confident. We're getting ready to have another big bull run. So now clearly we rejected this resistance area. So now I know we got another potential upside bull run in the market. So now I'm leaning toward. So that gives me confidence. But one thing I've noticed too is some divergence in the sector. Let's see, okay, QQQ is going up. Let me look at IWM. IDLBM is really look at that thing take off. Because that's the Russell 2000. Let me look at notice how the Dow Jones today has been more sideways kind of, whereas if you look at MNQ, it's in a cleaner uptrend compared to the Dow Jones, which has been kind of more sideways. I thought that was kind of interesting. But you see the rally, the leaders of the rally, the Russell 2000, which is IWM. And that's definitely that thing is just taking off. So to me that indicates again that gives me confirmation, right, that I can continue looking to take long. I would be definitely leaning toward long setups on my swings than I would be short, right? Because we're seeing and look at the good volume we got here. Nice volume with breaking out above this high. That tells me that it's favorable to definitely look at more long setups. I would definitely not be looking at any shorts.
Listen, when you look through all your charts, are you on the 4 hour?
Yes, I'm pretty much. I don't even go to daily anymore. I just like the story. I get so much reading out of the 4 hour than I do the daily or any other time frame. I love how things react. You can see. Let's see how this price reacted to this 4 hour resistance zone. I mean, it was almost perfect. It just to me it tells the story, right? Because if the 4 hour is tight, you see clearly we're in some kind of consolidation. Versus when you see these first big vertical breakout candles on the 4 hour, that tells you the market. So if you think about it, look at what happened here, and look at what we're getting right now. I mean, this is actually even stronger than now because this one had a slightly weaker second half. So far, this second half is blowing out above and beyond the first 4 hours. Greg, do you do any back testing?
I do. I would say every night I spend an hour or two or whatever back
Good.
testing. I
Because
back
that
test
will
like crazy.
good, man. Because I'm telling you, man, that develops the eye discipline of what you want to see. And what I like about it, again, for swings, you can do it so fast because you're on a 4 hour. I mean, like I can do a 6 months in about 30, 45 minutes on a stock.
Yeah, I do a lot. I do a lot of back testing, and it is very, very helpful. It's very helpful. The problem, I guess one little thing, I have a couple of different systems that I use and have used, but I've noticed about this system is when you get a good break of structure entry, a lot of times it explodes out of there. It's like everybody's looking for that entry. I
Yep.
mean, and they explode a lot better than some of my other systems, you know. So I like that explosiveness. That's very
Good.
helpful.
Well,
So
hey, so you've been doing some trading with it, right? And had some success.
you know, again, I haven't gotten that many, you know, that you kind of wondered, hey, where'd he go? I haven't gotten that many trades with these setups, you know, just
Okay.
because they're so special, they're so particular, you know, that you
Yeah.
don't see them all the time. But that was one reason I thought I'm going to pick your brain on like what do you do for your routine and see if I can start getting more trades, you know, with this
Gotcha.
system, more trades because I mean, I've been learning it. I've been using some of the things I've learned here with my other systems that really helps. You know, I want to
Great.
use this one too. I like the explosive nature. So anyway, that's what I'm working on now. Can I get the, all I need is really a good entry. You know, if I got a good entry, the rest of it just rolls. But
It does.
when I
Well,
get a weak entry, it takes too long.
I agree.
Yeah.
And then it, like you say, if you get into not the best setup, like in this case, I think like on this one on IWM, this definitely could have been a solid entry right here. Because two things. So if you're looking at the trend story, right, you got already this nice move up, right? So you know, like if I was mapping, this is a key area of support. So once you get price coming down here, you see it had a nice bounce. Now, it didn't finish as strong as we'd like, right? The only thing it kept us out of this trade was it didn't finish strong in the second half, right? But this next day, when it gaps up, in fact, I could have gotten in on the first candle. Just the fact that it cleared that so assertively, and then you got all this upside real estate for your profit target, right? You could have got in here. I'd have used again the base of that move as my stop. Even using that midpoint, that's almost a 2 hour trade right there. Who do you trade with?
Sink or swim.
Six. Okay. They should show you option prices even when off market. Now they're not 100% accurate compared to during the week. But the reason I want to check that is I want to know what the spreads are. If the spreads are crazy, I don't even want to put it on my watch list. So yeah, I kind of I'll go 20, 30 points. If it gets over 30, it's got to be a really good setup for me to think about trading it. So I'll check my spreads first. And then if it passes the spread test, then I'll go and put in, my trading view, analyze it, do my annotation, and then drop it in my watch list. Like you say, by doing that work on the front end, I've got my memory right here. So when I go to it, I know what I'm looking for.
You know what's amazing is like when I go back and back test, I'm like, look at this fantastic entry here. But then how did I not see it? You know, how did I not how did I not notice that in real time? And what I
Yes,
notice
I
is
think
like
so.
when
Good.
the market's dropping, it makes me feel like, oh, I just better back off. And that's actually when the best setups are happening. You know,
That's
but
right.
it takes a little courage and I think I'm lacking some courage. So need a little more
Well,
conviction.
and that's one thing. Just remember, and this is where your back testing will tell you, because I've seen this before, and I know in back testing it works